video, we are going to do a space painting, which I haven't had a lot of experience in. I've only done a couple of them, but I did have a request to do them and somebody wanted to know how to do them. So I thought, why not? And I'm sure that anybody that watches the video that is an ink fan, I'm sure they can probably even rock it even more than I do. But what I'm trying to do is get those beginners to try something new and hopefully give them a hand along the way. So here I go with the space painting, just giving my tile, my 6x6 tile, a little wash. And I get these tiles at Home Depot or Lowe's or a recycle center. I've gotten them at all of the above. And then the next step, actually, we're going to mask out the planets. So what we're gonna do is we are going to take this little tracing guy that I got, I guess it's from Michaels, and then I want to do a few different size planets. So we'll go in the corner here and we'll do a 1.5 inch planet. And what I'm doing is I'm putting this on contact paper. So contact paper I get at Canadian Tire or wherever you would like. This one is 15/16 of an inch. 15/16 of an inch, that's funny. They gotta switch to metric system, those guys. Okay, and then we'll go with this one here, which is 1 3/4 inch. You can do whichever sizes. I might do a 1/4 in there just in case I might want to just switch that up, do a 1 1/4 inch, or maybe I want 4 planets. So it's always good to have that extra circle if you need it. And now I'm going to speed up the video because nobody needs to see me cut circles. Is to do the space part, which is really fun. You're going to need lots of blending solution, and that's the key. So here's my blending solution. I use the Tim Holtz. It has less odor to it. So my tile's a little bit dirty, which I love. You can see it's pulling off a bit of that black, but I don't care because we're putting black in our space sky. And I even have some color on my fingers, and that's okay. So you can see exactly how much is on there. And even as I'm talking, it's getting a little bit more moist. So make sure that's really quite dry or quite wet. We want it quite soaking. And now we're gonna take some cool space colors and kind of go in. And there's no real rhyme or reason how this happens. Maybe we want a little bit lighter purple in a area that's almost the same color as the indigo. They probably look the same color up there, but my purple and indigo are slightly different. Put in a little bit of the lighter blue. We'll probably cover that up. This is purple from Pinata, very dark purple, which I love. And then I'm just gonna stick in good old black in some corners. And then some Blanco Blanco into the black to maybe make some gray, and purple to kind of give the dimensions of color. I love using my Blanco Blanco. And now what I'm gonna do is just kind of give this a little swirl. I see down here it kind of dried a little faster, and that's okay. Okay. So you can see this makes quite a pretty color. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to drop in some gold because we wanna have some little kind of space stuff going on here. So maybe it goes in a trail like that. And once again, we still have lots of blending solution here. So we're just gonna kind of blend this and maybe even coax it along a little bit to try to get, it's not gonna work, okay. So we want the gold to be chunky and kind of in a bit of a trail. So I'm just gonna give it a tip and hopefully I can make it get that little nebula trail that I'm looking for. And as it dries, it should kind of dry closer into the trails, which is what I want. Not sure why that little hole. We'll leave that like that. You can see it kind of drying into that, and that's what we want. We want it to kind of start chunking up on itself, and that's from using so much blending solution. So this is a pretty cool, you know, I could make like kind of like another nebula if I wanted to in a dark area, like over here, and that's gonna dry a little bit funky too. Maybe another little guy over here. They're fun to have in your painting. You can even move it around. Nope, it's not gonna move. That's okay. So that's looking good. It's quite wet. So what I can do now is just give it a little bit of drying time. And I'm also going to get my toothbrush ready because the next part is creating some stars in the sky. So as I'm drying this, I decided that because it's still a little bit wet, I'm gonna use my air compressor, which I love, but you don't have to do this step if you don't have an air compressor. I'm just doing this because I want to get some depth to the space sky. So wherever it's wet, like over here, I'm just gonna give it a little bit of a spray, and it's gonna also help move my gold into kind of that area. You can see it's not all moving because it is starting to dry. It just gives a little bit of lightness in it. Okay. Yeah, just gave it a little bit more depth, I think. If we don't like it, we can cover it up. But yeah, that didn't do too much, really. I think that not having the air compressor is absolutely fine and dandy. So I'm just gonna pull up these guys. And it's still a little bit wet because I'm impatient. And I don't mind that there's gonna get a little bit of this over here. We're really not concerned with that kind of stuff. It's more really just wanting most of that black off and planning out your planets so that you can make your gold kind of run through them. Okay, so my contact paper is now off, and I have some Fantastics here. Oh, just everything flying around. Fantastics is a foamy thing. I'm gonna use the pointed one and dip it in a little bit of alcohol and just take off that bit of color that seeped through or that got in when I was peeling it off. Okay, so try to peel these off when it's dry so that you're not dealing with this stuff. All right, that's looking good. 3 circles. I'm gonna actually move this. Which way do I want it? I think I want it this way. Is gonna be the easiest for me to paint. You can put your circles whatever way works for you. Okay, so I think I'm gonna do kind of an earthy style planet here. And then I'm going to do a, I don't know, just a random unicorn planet. And then maybe a Saturn style over here. All right, so we're gonna start with Earth. I think what I'll do is add a drop or two of blending solution into there so that it's back to wet. Just be careful because it blooms a lot, and we want to make sure that we keep our circle. So now we have a wet planet of blending solution, and we can add in some blue. Actually, let's see, this aquamarine is quite nice, so we'll do that. Throw in some aquamarine, and then I also have some slate here. I'll just drop in a little bit of that. That might be a little much. Oh, my planet's running away on me, so I'm just gonna make Earth a little bigger. That's okay. As humans, we see Earth as the biggest planet, so maybe it's the view from somebody flying up in space just outside of Earth. So this is gonna have to all be colored in now. That's okay. It's always good to see when we make mistakes and see how people deal with mistakes. If you do everything perfect the first time, it's actually kind of quite boring. I love watching videos when people make mistakes because it helps me learn and see how they fix mistakes. So now I'm just gonna have the gray in there, and that seemed to work. Make sure that the water gets up to the corners there. And it's not going to be an exact earth, obviously. I have some color on my Fantastics here, so I can always go in and work in some coloring if I want to kind of get this a little bit closer to what I want. So this was blue and slate. Obviously a green or a brown from Space is probably a little better. But I'm just taking a wet Fantastics that had some slate on it and throwing in some little mottled looking stuff here. And maybe even, oh, it's looking all right. Okay, we'll leave that one for now. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. So with the Saturn, it's always different colors, but I'm gonna go with orange and gray. So I have some tangerine here, and I can even swirl this around with the Fantastics and get it to the outside. Try to get it all wet once again. To swirl that gray in, we can make sure that this is nice and wet and just drop in one drop of gray. And it's gonna probably take over the orange, so maybe another orange. Hopefully it doesn't crawl over. This is not an angled table, so it did crawl over a bit, and that's all right. Like I said, it's always good for people to see your mistakes, because for one, nobody's perfect. And beginners and experts and everybody in between, like myself, I'm the in-between girl, not sure where I fit in the spectrum, but I make a lot of mistakes, so you just can't beat yourself up over it, because that's totally the worst thing you can do. Just keep working it until you can find something that you're kind of happy with. And let's cheer for that not to go over the edges. Come on, woohoo! And then our last planet down here. What do we want? I have pink. So this is our unicorn planet. So I'm just going to do pink. I have some orange on here, so it's gonna go not so pink, because in Space I would think that there wouldn't be anything bright pink. Who knows? I've not been up there. Okay. And then I can even just dot my Fantastics around if I want, make it kind of a dotty little planet. Can I get enough on my Fantastics to make this thing really wet now? Okay. Give it a little bit of dimension with the same pink, but less of the gray in it. Okay. And then I actually forgot to do the stars, which I probably should have done before my planets, but I will show you how to do the stars anyways. I might just have to cover up my planets with the little circles, maybe facing the other way though, just so that I can give them a cover up here. Cover that guy like that. And yeah, so if you're doing this, hopefully you're watching the whole video. Might have to start over again because this is not really turning out exactly how I wanted it, but we'll see. Okay, so I'm gonna take, these guys are covered and protected now. While I do, okay, come on, love. No, it's sticking to me, I don't like it. Okay, there we go. I have some Ranger Snowcap here. if you'd like white stars, so you could start out with that. So you put quite a fair amount on your brush, but you actually go further away. So I'm gonna go out of the picture to start with my stars. So you can see them start to appear. Because this is so white, I'm not sure how many of the white ones I want in here, but we do wanna have some stars, especially in this part. So maybe we have a few clusters over in this area. And you can see I'm getting closer because I wanted to start far away to get smaller stars and further apart. And then as I go closer, the stars are going to cluster. And then I can always do silver to get the party started. So this is the Tim Holtz silver. And once again, I'll start kind of further back. And there's not really much difference between the silver, and then maybe there's just a little cluster by this unicorn planet. Okay, so now I'm gonna pull these up, see what happened. Whoa, interesting. Okay, that one covered up good. How did this guy cover up? That covered up good. All right, so I was gonna redo the video, but no, this is fine. We want the planets all to kind of have a bit of a different texture, so that happening was actually okay. I could even dot in a little bit more orange in here because it got lost, that other color in there. All right, so now I'm going to do Saturn's rings, which aren't really too bad to do. I have a Fantastics here. It's dirty. It doesn't matter because we're just, and it goes a little higher than the center and then kind of comes around and it just hides back there. So it's however you do your Saturn. If you want the rings to look a little different, if you Google Saturn, there's a million ways to paint Saturn. So usually Saturn's rings have a little bit of lightness to them. So I might even come in here with a little bit of Blanco Blanco on this dirty Fantastics brush because we want it to not be pure white. And we'll just go in here and color in the rings once again. All right, so I think we might have salvaged this. Even though I did my stars after the planets, I should have done my stars before I pulled up my contact paper. So if you're doing this video, hopefully you watch it first, and I'll maybe make a note in the beginning to watch it so that you know to do your stars. This is a very simple, kind of fun painting. As long as you do those dark colors, you're gonna get a space looking tile. I'll just bring it up a little closer for you to see. Hopefully you can see all the details in there. My earth isn't the best. I could work on that, but that's okay. We're gonna stick with that.